I have something very special for you today. Yes, this is another one of those going down with the ship appearances by Donald Trump's press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, on Fox News propagandist Sean Hannity's program. Yes, Kayleigh is still pushing debunked voter fraud claims that no court believes, that they have no evidence for, that even Donald Trump seems to have given up on at this point. But this clip is special in that it has an extra element that is really dangerous and particularly pernicious. It shows us how lack of just simple mathematical understanding can be used by people, whether they understand it or not, to trick others into believing really stupid things. Donald Trump's press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, in this appearance last night, did some of the typical things. For example, as usual, she holds up pieces of paper as if holding up pieces of paper makes her claims more credible. Take a look.
This is significant, which is why you have 18 states signing on to this very well done lawsuit by the state of Texas.
And then she holds up pieces of paper again, as if they change anything about the fact that Donald Trump lost and Joe Biden won.
Power. And because Jake Tapper, Fake News CNN, and others can't wake up and find enough energy to go read a public court filing, I did it for them. You can find the sworn declaration by Charles Cachetti, who, by the way, PhD from Rutgers, tenured professor, expert testimony in hundreds of court cases, goes through meticulously how he used z-scores and standard deviations from a median to come up with this number. So it's the job of a reporter to go find this. It's out there, it's public, and it's a dereliction of the duty and the job that each of these reporters have to not look into this, to not look at the sourcing, which is available for all to read.
Sworn declaration. Whoa, hold on a second here. Oh, wait a second. Joe Biden still won. Right. So that's all the stuff we're used to. But then here comes the dangerous math. Take a look at this. Kayleigh McEnany presents the idea that what took place on election night has only a 1 in 1 quadrillion chance of happening. And thus, there must have been fraud. Donald Trump must have won. Now, 1 quadrillion is 1,000 raised to the power of 5, or 1 followed by 15 zeros. Sean Hannity asks her, Kayleigh, how did you come up with that number? And she explains.
But explain how you got that number.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because you had Fake News CNN saying that the affidavits I were showing were blank when all you had to do was go look at a public court filing to read them yourselves. But of course, they couldn't do that. That's the job of a reporter. But instead, I'm having to do their job for them, including with this number. The stat I gave last night, which is eye-opening and truthful, is that for President Trump to be ahead as far as he was at 3 a.m. in these 4 states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, and for the vote to swing by as much as it did, the probability of that in one state is 1 in 1 quadrillion. That's 1, 15 zeros. To happen in all 4, it's 1, 15 zeros to the 4th power. And because Jake Tapper, Fake News CNN, and others can't wake up and find enough energy to go read a public court filing, I did it for them.
So the claim is, so we have to first understand the claim, and then we can better examine it. What she says is the odds of what happened in some states when they counted ballots, meaning Trump was winning and then he was losing as they counted more ballots. She says the odds of that happening in one state are 1 in 1 quadrillion. And then she says, and because it happened in 4 states, the odds of that happening in 4 states are 1 in 1 quadrillion raised to the 4th power. So let's deal with the second part first, because it's simpler. Eric, one of our viewers, Eric, wrote to me and said, David, do you think she doesn't realize that that's not how exponents work? Or do you think she realizes it and is just lying to people? I have no idea. But Eric is right. If the odds were 1 in 1 quadrillion in one state, you don't just raise that to the 4th power to calculate the odds of it happening in 4 states. The math doesn't work that way. Now, let me explain to you what they're trying to do here. And it can be really tough to explain this stuff. This will be a nice challenge. Let's see if I can explain this in a way that's clear. In Pennsylvania, the final election results were Biden 50% and Trump 48.8%. Let's just call it, for simplicity, 50 to 49. Okay. Now, what this 1 in 1 quadrillion thing comes from is, imagine for a second that the results within any slice of Pennsylvania were the same or expected to be the same as for the entire state. So what I mean by that is Joe Biden won Pennsylvania 50-49. If you expected Joe Biden to win every county 50-49, and you expected Joe Biden to win every city 50-49, and you expected Joe Biden to win in-person voting 50-49, and mail-in voting by 50-49, only if you assume identical distribution of votes in all locations and all types of votes, only then would you be able to say the odds of Trump having several hundred thousand vote lead on election night, and that lead evaporating as mail-in ballots are counted, would be very, very unlikely. But we know that that's not the case. For example, in Philadelphia, Biden got 81% of the vote. Trump only got 18. And in Philadelphia, there were more than 700,000 votes. On the other hand, if you look at, as an example, Clearfield County, Pennsylvania, Trump easily won Clearfield County with 74% of the vote, but it's a very small number of voters. It's only 40,000 compared to 700,000 in Philadelphia. If you look at in-person versus mail-in, in-person voting was much more skewed to Donald Trump. Mail-in voting was much more skewed to Joe Biden, exactly as expected. So 1 in 1 quadrillion is meaningless once you realize low population red areas where there was more in-person voting, those were counted early and they leaned Trump. High population Biden areas with more mail-in voting were counted late, both of which we anticipated. It's not like that's even a surprise. And once you understand that, Kayleigh saying 1 in 1 quadrillion is instantly nonsense. It's just meaningless, but it sounds good to lots of people who don't understand basic math. And then, of course, raise it to the 4th power because we're talking about 4 states. That's also garbage. That's just trash. So this exemplifies how Trumpists get into much of this nonsense. They fall for bogus math. I don't know if Kayleigh knows that the math is garbage and she's lying. Or maybe Kayleigh doesn't even understand the math. Doesn't really matter. The point is Kayleigh gives a big number and she used exponents. So that must mean that Donald Trump actually won this election. And of course, that's garbage. And this is a prime example of how people fall for this stuff. I want to let you know that our sponsor, Vincero Watches, is having a massive holiday sale on all of their products right now. And you can take advantage of it by going to davidpakman.com/watch. A brand new high quality wristwatch really is the perfect way to add something fresh to your style, whether it's for you or a gift for someone else. Vincero is a brand that has a serious dedication to the craft of watchmaking, which is really evident when you look closely at their watches. I wear Vincero watches myself. Lately, I've been wearing one from their Icon Automatic collection. It's the mesh matte black watch, and I love the sleek minimalist design. Their watches are actually sold at a fair price. Their mission has always been to make a wristwatch from high-end materials, but one that everyday people can afford. And that's why they have over 25,000 five-star reviews, because you won't find a better made watch for this great of a price anywhere else. You can get big holiday discounts on all of their products right now and free shipping when you go to davidpakman.com/watch. I've put the link right underneath this video.